Welcome to another edition of Motivational Sundays with Kevin and friends. We're closing out 2024. This is the last broadcast of Motivational Sundays, and we have something very special brought to you by Dr. Breakthrough this morning. Now, for those of you that are listening or tuning in for the first time, let me tell you how this show was created. My name is Kevin McLemore, four-time published author, an award-winning author. I had gotten together with a couple of friends, and we talked about the more than 300 quotes I had created for the contents of my books. Now, curious, when I got together with the brother Naheem, Stan, Anne Marie, Rick, um, Brian, Vanessa, Lanez, Denise, and our voice of the show, Mr. Otis Spencer, we were always curious, were the words just laid there on the page, or were there a conversation to be had? So we got together and we meet every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Someone on from our family, one of my co-hosts, we bring in a quote, and based on that quote, our interpretation and perspectives, we talk about that quote, something that everyone should do, and we're surprised. So without further ado, all right, I'm going to turn the show over to the voice of our show, Mr. Otis Spencer, and he's going to deliver quote. And thank you, Dr. Breakthrough, for bringing this wonderful quote. Otis, you've
Grand,
mine.
Grand Rising, everyone. Happy Sunday, happy holidays. And the quote: if you visualize vividly and verbalize voraciously, one day you will actualize automatically.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up and enjoy the ride. Dr. Stan Harris, better known to everyone as Dr. Breakthrough. I'm going to tell you, keeping away from your furniture, because when this man speaks, boards breaks and bricks crumbles. And we humble ourselves to listen to how did this quote land on you, Dr. Breakthrough?
Well, it's a privilege and a pleasure, a treat and a treasure, a joy beyond measure to be with each and every one of you. And we had a Merry Christmas. Looking forward to a Happy New Year. As a matter of fact, my motto is breakthrough and thrive in 2025. So this quote is basically how I've lived my life, and that is, you got to first of all visualize vividly. So when I got started in the martial arts 50 years ago, no, 52 years ago, but anyway. Tripped over my own feet. They called me Mr. Baboon. I was like, y'all better laugh now because one day I'm going to whoop y'all all. And that wasn't the right attitude, but it did come true. So visualize vividly. So what I had to do, and by the way, when we say visualize, that's going to take work because we're so used to television. There was a day when we used to listen to the radio and we could visualize, but now everything's in front of you. And so, as children, we used to visualize, but now we don't. And God Himself, when He wanted to create something, first He visualized it, and then He verbalized it, and then He actualized it. Well, we're the same way because He's the master creator. He made you and I many creators, gave us a mandate to create and methods to create. So when you visualize vividly, so I started seeing myself during the match. I started seeing me striking at my opponent and hitting the opponent. I saw my opponent striking at me and me blocking, and the referee calling the points. And many, many times, without exaggeration, and of course, in Japanese terms, sensei, that means teacher, instructor, and he would teach us this is what true meditation is, not open up your mind to Buddha or something like that. No, true meditation includes visualization and seeing where you want to go, what you want to be, what you want to become. And I became the champion after visualizing, seeing it over and over again. Interestingly enough, for Christmas, my wife and I went to see the Fire Inside with Clarissa Shields, and basically she was taught the same thing by her coach. So you gotta visualize vividly. I had to visualize the kind of life I wanted to live. I used to visualize about traveling the world, speaking, and but when I say visualize, you got to do it vividly to the place where you can almost reach out and touch it, right? So visualize vividly, and that takes work. And then verbalize voraciously. You can't just say something; you got to say it with passion, with oomph. And I love what Muhammad Ali said. The best quote that literally shook me to my core outside of the Bible. Now, the Bible says He calleth those things which be not as though they were. Muhammad Ali said, I said I was the greatest a long time before I ever believed it. So, in other words, he figured out what he wanted to believe. And he said, if I say it long enough and loud enough, I'll hear myself. I start believing it. Faith cometh by hearing, hearing by the word. And soon enough, he became that. And so we got to visualize vividly. That takes some work. And then verbalize voraciously. That takes the words. And then one day you'll actualize automatically. And that takes wisdom to understand that when I put the work in, eventually it will happen. So it's amazing how when I became the champion martial arts, people say, "Oh my goodness, like you're like an overnight success." No, you weren't there. And so I close with this. They said Walt Disney, when he built Disney World, he passed away before it was fully completed. And somebody said, "Isn't it a shame Walt wasn't, he didn't live long enough to see this?" And his brother-in-law happened to be there. And his brother-in-law said, "No, you guys don't understand. Walt saw this a long time before any of us ever saw it. Because a building, just like a true life, is built three times. First in the mind, secondly on paper, and then thirdly, it's constructed to actualize the way it was in the mind of the person." So if we do that for 2025, visualize the life we want, visualize it vividly, like you can almost reach out and touch it, and then verbalize voraciously. And that's why I have declarations that I say over and over again. And by the end, I hope I can go through my December declaration. And then one day you'll actualize automatically. It may take a while, but when you sow enough seeds, the harvest has to come. God bless you.
God bless you too. And I hope everyone listening got a chance to wrap your arms around this quote and the interpretation of Brother Stan on how he had transferred something that was in his mind, and what he focused on every single day became his reality, which is true to everything you do. And I've said this in many times before, a word is just a word, but when you put another word together and actions that follow, it becomes your story. So create something, speak it into existence, and then let your actions allow your existence to become your reality. So with that said, it's just like this show. For those of you that are the first time listening to this show, we created this show based on what we thought was going to happen and what we wanted to see eventually. And then we got together with a group of people that were like-minded, that saw the dream come true. And believe it or not, that every single Sunday, we grew from one, we grew from two, we grew from three. And we set a standard that said that, everyone that comes on has to be on camera. Everyone that comes on has to speak. And everyone that speaks, no matter how your interpretation, this is what we do. So, if you get a chance to ever come on our show, this is a live show. So please make sure you're on camera. It's not a hint. That's just the way we do. So I'm going to pass this on over to Vanessa before we lose a guest that's on our show. So hopefully she caught the hint. There she goes. Vanessa, how's this quote land on you? Do you guys like the way I put that out there?
Very nicely. Grand Rising, everyone. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Well, this quote really lands on me in something that I've been told I'm very powerful at doing. It's a lot of manifestation. And I always like to visualize. I am a dreamer. I've been told I'm a dreamer, but a lot of my dreams do come true because I believe in them. And, verbalize. I do verbalize a lot of the things that I perceive that I will be doing, and that, it's like, if I put it out to the universe, it's going to happen. But I've also been told loose lips sink ships. So it's like, you have to know there has to be a balance. But I really do believe the more you speak of it, you don't always have to verbalize it to the world. You could also just verbalize it to yourself in the mirror, which is something that I've been practicing. I'm going through something right now with a coach. She's amazing. Actually, I need to invite her to this show. I will. And she has me doing this exercise where I speak what I want for 2025. And the more you say it to yourself, the more it will actually actualize. So that is how this quote landed on me. Thank you very much. I love this quote because if you believe, it will happen. Yes.
All right. All right. The one thing about this show, I've always been told you are only an extension or example around the company you keep. I am so glad I'm in the circle and have all these wonderful people in my corner because I saw a thing on Netflix. It's called The Making of um, what is it? Jack did it. Anyway, it featured quarterback from Washington, D.C., the Commanders, Jalen Daniels, at 8 years old. Now, look at today, 2024. He is one of the leading featured quarterbacks in NFL. 8 years old. This young man said he is going to the NFL. At 8 years old, this young man started to work out at 8 years old. This young man at 8 years old started to feed his body the food for his fuel. And believe it or not, at LSU, he became a standout quarterback. He was one of the top draft picks. And every Sunday now, we're watching the Washington Commanders go from a team that they laughed at to a team that they're focusing on. So those of you that are like us that have children, when you speak, remember this. Your words becomes not only your story, it becomes someone else's story. So Jalen Daniels, congratulations for letting us experience that story and talk about the power of your words. And I'm going to bring on another brother. When you talk about pouring into someone and our children, and we all have dynamic children, no matter how they struggle, how they have to overcome things, we speak words of wisdom. And sometimes our children hear us when they're not listening to us. And then all of a sudden, one day, they start to repeat the words and realize they heard us. So when I talk about brother Brian Roberts, we're going to talk about another young man that's doing dynamic work in this universe that is focused. And let's see how this quote lands on him this morning. How you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored, my friend.
Right.
So visualize, verbalize, and then actualize, correct? So
Yes.
I am a visual artist just as you. And as a child, man, I saw things, just all kinds of things in my life, but we didn't have much, right? And I heard Ray Lewis talk about this. He was asking his mom some questions, and he says, Mom, he says, why don't we have air? Why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? And she said, baby, because we're poor. Now, my family never said that to me, but the reality was we didn't have a whole lot. But I constantly visualized. So I was always the one drawing what I thought. And I noticed when I was a child, I always drew picket fences, and I'd go get the Rolls Royce Hot Wheel. I'd have the slant back. I'm showing my age now. The slant back Cadillac Seville. This was always a thing, and I used to create tracks all the way. We had shag carpet. Nobody knows about shag carpet except for those that have gray hair. But shag actual carpet, right? And I would take my little cars and I would create roads, highways, everything. And it drove my dad nuts. I would wait for somebody to vacuum the floor just so I could do that, right? And literally, I realized later in life what I was really doing. I was visualizing a picket fence. I was visualizing a nice backyard. I was visualizing a cute family, a boat outside and all these different things. And we were blessed to actualize that. But the funny part about life is, did it happen when things were going the greatest in my life? No. It happened when they were literally the worst. And I remember my wife and I, we sat down, this was probably early to probably mid 90s. We sat down and we created a vision board. And we put all these things on the vision board, what kind of car we wanted, what we wanted our house to look like, and all those things, right? And it was probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we stumbled upon that same vision board because we move around a lot. And I looked at that vision board, and every single thing on that vision board had not only been accomplished, it had been exceeded. And that made me think, because I had the pleasure of working with Bernie Moreno, and we built Mercedes-Benz of Fort Mitchell. I was there when we first started out. And his whole thing was excellence in everything that we do. So we were going to be known as a place of delight, where every engaged team member, and I had this conversation with Vanessa, took personal ownership with every client, regardless of the role, with the goal of creating positive memories. And I told her, I said, that sounded like Disney World, didn't it? And I love Walt Disney. I love the fact that this guy could come up with stories just about a mouse. You know what I mean? Like where I grew up, if you saw a mouse, you ain't coming up with a story about the mouse, right? That's not happening. But it just goes to show you what can really happen when you truly visualize, the greatest things on earth can actually happen. So for me, that means anything that you see in your vision, because I always tell people, I see before I say. And I had to teach myself not to say anything that I didn't see. So maybe there's a lesson in that. Don't say something that you don't see until you see it. How about that? Then you project it. But there's a scripture that says, calling forth those things that be not as though they were, right? We speak to those mountains, right? And you can tell a mountain, be thou removed. I believe that is really, this is just my take, really just to get your will to kind of like submit and say, whatever this is bigger than me, but it doesn't matter that it's bigger than me. I don't have to have the natural resources in my bank account. My bank account ain't reading what I'm seeing. But so what? We still gonna get there anyway. And so that's how you actualize that thing. We've been blessed to actualize many things in our lives. So visualize, right? You gotta visualize that thing, right? You gotta realize that thing. You gotta embrace that thing. And there's something beautiful about speaking those words out, because what begins to happen is you begin to believe it. And there's nothing more beautiful than lying in your bed and feeling like you're wealthy, even though you're like, man, it's hot in this room, but boy, I feel wealthy right now. There's nothing better than that. And I believe because our creator was a speaker, then therefore to look like him, we got to come fully into balance with speaking those things. So that's what it actually means to me. That's how you actualize. You do write it down, you do all of those things, but then you just go get it. Then you come back and you just be grateful for what you see, whatever you see. That's my take.
Boy. I'm going to tell you, to my listening audience, to our listening audience, we got to get the world ready for you, because the world's just not ready. You guys are coming. You guys are bringing it. I'm going to tell you, it's a little bit under 30 some odd degrees, but the temperature started to rise. I'm going to tell you, it's going to get hotter. When the lady shows up in red already, you already know the room's not heated up. It's on fire. So look, you know something? When this lady speaks, I'm going to tell you, she speaks with a voice that is so smooth. And Otis, I don't mean to take anything away from you, but when this lady speaks, it makes you want to pay her rent. So, Anne Marie, how does this quote land on you?
Grand Rising, everybody. Grand Rising. Oh my goodness. Have you ever had the experience of, each year we say, I'm going to set a goal, and my New Year's resolution goal, and by January 30th or February 1st, you've broken the goal already. It's just like we set these goals in terms of working out and being fit, and finally I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And you have to wonder to ourselves, how come so many of us, quote unquote, fail? And we can have a different debate, a different conversation on failure, because fail is just nothing but a mistake where there's a lesson to be learned from. But in terms of visualizing, you have to see what it is that you want. You have to be able to see it. And, some of you have worked with Les Brown, and I believe it was Les Brown where I first heard the concept, conceive it, believe it, achieve it. And so that is exactly what we're talking about. Can you conceive it? When you work with young people, as I do, it's a level of engagement in terms of exploring their imagination. Because a lot of times people, their dreams die somewhere along the lines, whether that's social pressure, peer pressure, for whatever reason, the circumstances kill your dreams and you lose your imagination. The key thing to actualizing something is to keep your imagination going, is to keep it alive. And you keep it alive by visualizing and verbalizing it. So I want you, the fellow guests on this show, as well as our listeners, to do something for me. Take your right hand, put it over your heart. You could keep your eyes open or closed. And I want you to visualize, what is it that you want in 2025? Is it something related to family? Is it something related to your job or your aspiration? Where are you? What are you wearing? Who is in the room with you? What is being said about you or to you or with you? What are the colors in the room? What is the room? Are you inside? Are you on a stage? Are you in your living room? Or are you outside? Are you in a field? And after you visualize that and you have that picture of your life in that moment, what is the self-talk you're going through? Are you saying to yourself, yes, I designed this. Yes, thank you for bringing me to this place. Yes, I never believed it, but it came true. What is it that you want? What is it that you see for yourself? Maybe it's not things. Maybe it's something like peace. You want more peace in your life. You want more trust in your life. You want more comfort in your life. How do you get there? Are you there? And then you breathe into it. You can open your eyes if it's closed. Usually that takes me like a whole 30 minutes or an hour, so I abbreviated that for the benefit of this show. But I want to say to you, how do you get there? And that's where the speaking comes. Because sometimes our own worst enemy is ourselves. Oh, I'll never get there. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, who am I? Sometimes it's imposter syndrome or it's self-sabotage. Who am I to think that I can do that? Who am I to think I can reach those heights? Who am I to think that I can live in peace given all of the circumstances and things that are going around me? And who are you not to? And so we ask ourselves, how can we become our own best friend? Let me repeat that. How can we become our own best friend? Because what would you tell your best friend if your best friend is struggling? These are the things that you need to speak to yourself. And the last thing I want to say is that when we visualize and when we verbalize who and what we want to be, leave room for God. Because I can tell you, and many of you here in this platform, that our biggest dream that we can have for ourselves, God is a multiplier. He does it bigger. So I'm saying, God, this is what I desire. And I believe that God delights in the desires of our hearts because we are his children, and he can take it to such a level beyond even what we can see. And that's faith. So this is how the quote lands on me: visualize, verbalize, and actualize. Grand rising, everybody.
I'm going to tell you, if this mic today was a basketball in the NBA, everyone's throwing up threes this morning. Everyone, and it's nothing but nets. I will tell you, I was so excited when I got this quote from Stan, and because I'm going, this is what we all do. Stevie Wonder, if you guys know, ever heard of him, Ray Charles. You know, my grandfather said even a blind man can see when he has a dream. And one of the conversations, I don't know what it's like for you, but I used to hear it all the time in my neighborhood. I'm a little older than some of you people on here. Not all of you. Okay. I think one person's in my neighborhood on this show. But remember when your people, not just your mom and dad, but your people, they would come over and they would say hello to your child and they'll bend down, hey baby, how you doing? What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? We don't say that to our children anymore. All right. We allow them to go through life and stumble and fall and whatever, and we hold their hand and we start, as parents, we clear the way for them. You know, Anne Marie, you talked about failure. I love failure. All this doing failure is preparing me for my success. You'll hear me talk about the habits of my daily habits. I don't like repeating things twice. When I say I don't like repeating things twice, you do not have to smack me in the head with the same situation twice. I'm a learner. I'm a student. We need to go ahead and open the eyes for people that are blind and to show them that it could happen, but you have to go through the steps. All right. You have to see where you want to be and you have to be clear. The mental picture's got to be so clear. It's just like you can reach out and touch it. And then you got to speak it into a room of people with Vanessa, Dr. Stan, Anne Marie, and all the other people on this platform. Speak it to someone with confidence. Stick out your chest. Remember, little African boy when the men brought him back to the village after he came back, 14, 15 years old, after wrestling a lion or a bear in the jungle or whatever, he came back and he walked a little bit different. Our children, we don't walk that way anymore. We walk all hunched down, not confident. Pull your shoulders back and stand up, both women and men. All right. And then your actions. Oh, I'm going to tell you. All right. Your actions is just like the 4th of July, like the Mardi Gras party or whatever. All right. Your actions is a celebration of your life, the things that you've overcome. How many times have you heard people on this platform talked about being homeless and now look at the home they lived in? It's because their mind and their vision never abandoned them. So when I come back and I talk about Mr. Rick Dermott, that's been a writer for Rolling Stone magazine. For those of you that are in business, that's big time. And then have things come his way. I'm going to tell you, every one of us has ridden out a storm before, but all we do is remember the sunshine after the rain. All right. Dr. Stan, do I sound like I'm learning a little bit something from you? I'm going to turn it over to Rick. Rick, how's this quote land on you?
Wow. Uh, like a very, very heavy feather. Um, First of all, I want to thank you for not putting me first because I wanted to hear getting inspiration from the other speakers, especially from Anne Marie, when you said you have to be your own best friend. And that moment, those words sunk so deep with me that I almost started crying. And I'm still kind of verklempt, if you will. But yeah, it's something. And Dr. Stan, when you mentioned Muhammad Ali, especially, it made me think. I've long been a visualizer, long been a semi-sturdy verbalizer, and then my actualization has been rocky, probably as a result of my semi situations and belief in myself. I know, like throughout the course of my life, I've I've done several things and felt very confident while doing them, but then but when it was leading into the moment of actually having to do it, whether it was journalism or dispatching or parenting or those kinds of things, was very nerve wracked, a lot of self doubt, which I still carry with me, which is why I think Anne Marie's comment about being yourself's best friend. I know that when I'm talking with a friend and they're down or feeling defeated or feeling failure and things like that, I'm one of those people that will find those silver linings for them or help them visualize those silver linings. But I don't do it with myself as often as I probably should. So I think today's quote and everybody's thoughts are adding fuel to my fire to refocus myself a lot more strongly in my belief of what I want and what I believe I can do and what I'm going to do. So thank you very much for everybody. And I can't wait to hear everybody else's thoughts and find more fuel for my fire.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hopefully, we've got audio on another one of our many people here. Otis, would you do me a small favor? All right. I love the fact that we've got our stuff so together. We can get cues or whatever, knowing what I'm going to say next. Otis, can you give us the quote one more time for our listeners that's just kicking in before Larnaz gives us her share?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
If you visualize vividly and verbalize voraciously, one day you will actualize automatically.
All right, all right, all right. Larnez, I'm going to tell you the world's not ready for you. You're such a gift. This is a person that's a connector, two connectors. And I'm going to say this and listen to this quote before I even give my share, because I'm sitting here and, you know how like, they say when your hands itch, something money's coming to you or whatever. Um, my vision originally, and I shared this with Naheem, but I'm going to share it with the rest of you guys. When I started this show, as we started to develop, I always said I'm building a plane while flying. I had one day envisioned that one day that the cast of this show, we would all get together for a 4 or 5 day conclave and allow to do this show live and allow our listeners to come and visit us and meet us personally, to allow each one of us to go through a day, an hour, to showcase and tell our story to inspire people, to sign autographs, to have lunch with our people. And at the end of the day, and this has been my vision, instead of being co-hosts of this show, to be presented with this show, Motivational Sundays, and it could be the acronym with Kevin and friends. But to hand each and every last one of you a leather bomber jacket with producer on this. That is my dream. That's what I'm working towards, because God has delivered me with the answer to my prayer with each one of you guys. You guys have been that vision. I have finally got all the pieces to the puzzle. When I talk about, remember I said about 99% of us are puzzles and we're always missing that one piece? That one piece that normally falls on the floor that you can't find, your dog chews or whatever, has just finally come together. And Dr. Stan, you brought a quote that redirected my time and my energy to what I originally had for this show, is to put us all on stage to be able to tell our story. Because when you tell our stories about people that have overcome hardship, have overcome complications, have overcome heartbreak, disappointment, had to sleep in their cars, and look at it, had to overcome, a society that looks at us as less when we were more, just because of the color of our skin or how we believe or how we showed up that day. This is the reality of it. And the fact that we put this show together is actualization of what happens when a dream comes true. But no one can do this one thing we call life alone. I'm going to tell you, the only way we're going to ever come together and make a change if we do it together and appreciate one, put the value over $1 and invest it back into humanity. So without that, before I become too didactic on this Sunday morning, I can't put words together like Dr. Stan, but I got 2 words. Larnaz Kinsey, go ahead. Tell us how this quote landed on you. I'm killing it today, aren't I?
Grand Rising, happy holidays to everyone. Um, Visualize vividly is about getting real clear about what you want for yourself. And I don't mean just saying it. I mean, like, I want to be successful, but you have to know what it looks like. You have to know what it feels like. You have to know what it smells like. If your goal is to to run your own business, you need to see the office, hear the conversations, and feel the energy of that success. You got to create the picture in your mind so clearly that it feels like you're already living it. Now, verbalize voraciously, is that what it is? I believe I'm saying the word right.
Yep.
Okay, this is where you say it out loud, right? I'm not talking about speaking about your goals, but you have to say it confidently and consistently. Say them in the mirror, tell it to your friends, claim it, even if no one else sees the vision but you. Here's the cheat code: The more you speak it, the more you believe it. The more you believe it, the more people start to believe it too. Your words set the tone for your actions. Now we get to actualize automatically. This isn't about some magical overnight success. It's how your clear vision and consistent words program your mind to start making moves without hesitation. You start walking into rooms like you belong there. You start making decisions that align with your goals before you even realize it. You're doing the work to turn your vision into reality. And because your mind and your actions are really focused and locked in. But with this quote, of course, you know there's a culture layer, and this is a cultured show, right? I believe we need to speak about one of the misunderstood aspects of American culture, which is the notion of rugged individualism. What is rugged individualism, you ask? It's the idea of that success is achieved by that individual without the need of community or government support. Because this rugged individual notion, the one that says you have to do it all by yourself, has people out here thinking that leaning on others is weakness. Let's be clear. No one makes it alone. Even the most self-made folks had mentors, friends, communities, and systems that helped them level up. We When we over prioritize doing everything solo, we lose connection to community that actually makes success sustainable. We're taught to grind for our own bag, that we forget to build the relationships that make the journey worthwhile. People aren't drifting apart because they're embracing new ideas and values. They're drifting apart because we've been conditioned to believe we shouldn't rely on each other. Think about it. The people who thrive the most in this world understand that success isn't just about it's about we. It's about building together, supporting each other, and celebrating the wins together. So, yes, visualize your goals, speak your dreams into the universe, but don't forget that your dreams exist in a world full of people that can help you get there and who you can help in return. Because success isn't about just reaching the top, it's about making sure there's a ladder built sturdy enough for the next person to climb. And that's how this hit me.
All right. All right. Like I told you, the mic today, nothing but 3-point shots all from the outside. All from the outside. Everyone, all nothing but nets. Um, it's amazing. I look in the eyes of everyone on this show, and I remember from day one to present, everyone shows up every single week. There's other things that people could be doing at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every single Sunday. You know, none of us are getting paid for this, but we showed up because we all believe that the conversation we had needs to be had and we're making a difference. Even when I get a person here that shows up and stays for the duration of the show when their audio is not working, you know what that makes me feel like? The dream is alive because I am surrounded by people. We talked about this before, talking about people being in your circle. Those are the people that want something for you, from you. The people that are in your corner, they're there for you. I am so grateful. You guys are people in my corner. Okay. And there's
mine at 6 o'clock.
all right. All right. Some of us, yes, on the different standard times. And I will tell you this, I went to see a friend that's going through a transition in life through complications, and he just came out of the hospital. I got a chance to speak to some of my friends. And this is going to sound funny to most, but this is a true story. I asked a young brother to pray for me while I'm driving on 95, going from Philadelphia to New York. And for the duration of that prayer, I had two things in my mind. I said, one, hopefully Brother Stan gives me a short one. And the other, I wanted to make sure that I was present and paying attention because I had my eyes closed while driving on the highway. Because it's natural in the Black community when someone says pray, first thing you do is bow your head and close your eyes. And I for a moment, I forgot I was driving. I was so engulfed in the words. the messenger. I'm going to say not a messenger. He's a warrior that wears a shield that says he's a disciple of the message of the word. And thank you, brother, for speaking on me. So without becoming too didactic, and then the second time I repeated that, I'm going to go ahead and let the voice of our show, Mr. Otis Spencer. I am so grateful to you. I am so, so grateful for you. I think we're all are. You are a gift to this world. Don't you ever forget it. You are a gift. Everyone
Thank
on
you.
this show is a reason why you're here. It's because you're on a mission. All right. And the people that are in your life are the people that should be following, you should be listening, that you're teaching, that you're pouring into, that you're coaching, and that you're an example of the conversations we have. We talk about being intentional and being present. Take a good look at the picture on this screen right now, because you're all are gifts. So Otis, let's just quote land on you.
Well, just like everyone else has said, you have to have a dream. It starts there. Visualize that dream. Keep going. You're going to have obstacles, but you have to overcome those obstacles. And what are you going to do? How bad do you want it? You got to be in the company of the right people, like Larnez says, to help you achieve that dream or goal or whatever you want to achieve. For me, and as a little story, as a kid, I always wanted to be an actor. Finishing first year of high school, I said, this is what I want to do. Completed high school. Senior year, we did a drama festival, became in the all-star cast. Went to college, got my degree in acting and directing, graduated cum laude. Said I wanted to be in the union. 2 years out of college, after taking a class on how to audition for commercials, I got into Screen Actors Guild. And you had to get principal work to get into Screen Actors Guild at that time. And doing various other things, I told Kevin that unfortunately there was a scam that somebody was offering me after I did an audition to get a principal on a regular TV show. But even as that happened, I visualized myself being at the Emmy Awards and getting an Emmy. So you still have to dream. And I believe after that, that even though it was a scam, something big is yet to come.
Yeah, there are artists, there are signs along the way. And I'm going to tell you, big things are coming. I say it every single day. You know, James Earl Jones made room for another voice. All right. We got to get the world ready for you. All it's going to take is that one person to listen to this show and hear that voice and go, that's the voice I need to do with this. And it starts just like building a building, one brick at a time. You know, it all starts with the foundation, and the foundation is here. So, Dr. Breakthrough, I want to thank you for bringing such a dynamic and fun quote to the show today. It is much appreciated. So I guess it's up left up to me. You guys are a hard act to follow, and believe it or not, I'm not even going to try. I was touched so much by this quote, and so many things have happened. You know, I think Brian, we had this conversation earlier. You know, talking about bamboo and what it takes to, you know, how long it takes. You know, we live in a society where we want instant gratification. That is not the reality of what life is based on delayed gratification. If you have any uh, connection with your faith, turn a page in the Bible. I don't care which one. Okay, there was a struggle. You know, Moses, before he brought the Ten Commandments down, he had to travel. He had to overcome some stuff. Not only the stuff he had to overcome that was physically an obstacle in his way, he had to overcome some stuff that was mentally inside his head that he had to overcome. This quote is so powerful. When you talk about the power of your words, when you're talking about being intentional, what you see and what you focus on becomes your reality. You know, for those of you that have not watched video on Dr. Breakthrough, that man balls his fist up. He looks down at a board, takes a deep breath in. You talk about the yin and the yang, and without second thought, boom, his energy transfers to another source of energy, and that energy is great. All right. I know that feeling. A lot of you have known that feeling about overcoming something in, a test that you have taken, and all of a sudden you get your first A. Never forget it, what it felt like. The first time, a young lady held your hand when you're too nervous to ask her name, and she held your hand. Never forget that feeling. I remember the first day my youngest son was born. I actually delivered my youngest son, changed my whole life to be the first person that touched him into this world. I said, there's only one greater gift in this world. Okay. And that's being the first person that my son met in this world. Took every award down. When you imagine intensely of what you want, you take your hand and you place it and you strike a board. And then all of a sudden your dreams start to expand and a board turns into a brick. And once you realize that you can strike a brick and that brick will crumble under the power of your intentions, you realize that there's nothing that's going to stop you. The only thing that will stop you if you get distracted from your dream. I say to you and I say to everyone else, do not feed your distractions. Your reality becomes what you focus on, what you talk about, who you're surrounded with, and the actions of your intentions. Saying what you mean and mean what you say eventually becomes your superpower. Repeating those affirmations, your words, accompanied by your actions, consistently and naturally bring your dreams and goals into fruition. I say this to anyone who is listening to this show. Make notes and take notes of every single person on here. If you have not experienced the conversation that you're having right now, hit replay and play this back, because there's a consistent message in the thinking and the speaking of the conversations you're having. There are going to be potholes in your road. There are going to be twists and turns in your roads. You're going to run into dead ends. All right. The reason why your mirror in your car is so small when it's looking behind you is because everything that happened to you, everything you had to overcome, the time you slept in your car on that twin mattress, Robert, we know what it feels like. We never forgot the fact that one day we're going to have a home, because we lived in that palatial mansion in our home. When my sister Denise showed up and the world was pressing her because of the color of her skin, she never gave up hope, and she surrounded herself with people that said, when I can't carry myself, what happened? She leaned on people that picked her up and held her tall. All right. And we overcame that beast of racism in her life, and she became stronger. All right. We have all overcome some stuff. We are direct reflections of the conversation we have, and we're direct reflections of the person we show up every single day. So when I say to you, and I'm going to use this, and I can't do it as powerful as Anne-Marie has done it today, put my hand on my hip and close your eyes, but I'm going to tell you this. When you're going through life, I'm going to tell you to put your foot on the gas pedal. Put it all the way down. Hold on at 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Kite on your dreams. Do not hit the brakes. Drift into every single curve. Ride it out, because it is going to get better. And if you see it and you believe it and you're focusing on it every day, and you surround yourself with people that support you because you can't do it alone, I'm going to say, be well, buckle up, and crash into your dreams. This is how this quote landed on me. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we had a wonderful show. And if your 2024 is anything like this show, I'm going to tell you, we're getting the world ready for you, because the world's not ready for you in 2025. No matter what other decision someone makes for you, you are in control of your own actions. All right. Your reality is your reality. So if you like what you've heard, I ask you to share this show. Go to RMK Productions and Network on our YouTube page and share it. Give it to someone that's in need, that needs to hear this conversation. If you want to be a guest on the show, we allow you to come in. The show notes, the Zoom is there. We explain to you the rules. You're more than welcome. We've had many people come on the show. And You know, my grandfather always said, when you get to a place in life that you can help someone else out, it is your duty to do so. And I'm going to ask Otis to help me out a little bit on here. So he said, reach one, teach one. And with that said, Otis,
We fade to black.
and ladies and gentlemen, we're out. We'll see you next year.